Chris Hemsworth is coming out of the woodwork to say that he isn't happy about Thor Love and Thunder either. These are not his first comments. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with us is the demigod of information, Mr. VashSky. Please bless us with knowledge, Vash. How's it going today?
Well, I hope I can live up to the reputation right here. I did dig into that Vanity Fair article. I didn't just read the summary articles. I really dug into this one, and it was a very long article, but I feel enriched from that process, and hopefully I can share that all with you.
Well, I appreciate that you did that because we'll be calling on you to comment from this article from That Park Place. Chris Hemsworth admits he became a parody of himself, and he didn't stick the landing in Thor Love and Thunder. This from John F. Trent, editor-in-chief over there at That Park Place. Look at that guy. Look at his muscles. Are those muscles a parody of his muscles? Chris Hemsworth reportedly believes he owes Marvel fans another go after the disastrous Thor Love and Thunder, which he admitted didn't stick the landing and saw him become a parody of himself. Here he is in his vessel and Cocktails and Dreams. Is that the name of the ship? I've forgotten, actually. I did finally get the chance to see Thor Love and Thunder. I skipped it the first time around, kind of passed on it because they started putting some unusual gender stuff in there, but there's probably a review of that coming sometime. You know, here we are years later. In an interview with Vanity Fair to promote his upcoming Furiosa, a Mad Max saga movie, writer Karen Balby shared he thinks he owes the audience another Thor after what felt like a whiff with Thor Love and Thunder. He wants to let himself take his craft more seriously, but he doesn't want to be an overly self-important, pretentious person. To that point, Hemsworth took issue with the most recent Thor film and how he felt on set. Sometimes I felt like a security guard for the team. I would read everyone else's lines and go, oh, they got way cooler stuff. They're having more fun. What's my character doing? It was always about, you've got the wig on, you've got the muscles, you've got the costume. Where's the lighting? Yeah, I'm a part of this big thing, but I'm probably pretty replaceable. He later added, I got caught up in the improv and the wackiness and I became a parody of myself. I didn't stick the landing. Look at him right there. He looks Thor-y, although a bit brighter on the blues there. Vash, did you see Thor Love and Thunder?
I did not. I heard some really, really awful reviews, and I gotta be honest, I actually do like the Thor character quite a bit. His journey is very interesting, obviously, as they try to take this character and kind of remold him over and over and over again. Maybe one or two molds too far, let's just say, for sure. But I really do love this character, so I didn't want that the image in my head of that character to be degraded in the way that apparently Chris Hemsworth knows he did.
Yeah, they've gone a bit back and forth on that character, and there's some reports that around Avengers Age of Ultron that Chris Hemsworth said he felt strangled in the role because he's playing a straight man. He's playing a character that does not know that he is humorous, but also is not that humorous the way that they have been writing him. There's actually a moment where he does strangle for a brief moment Robert Downey Jr.'s character of Tony Stark, and I can't help but think that he wasn't having any fun while everyone else was having fun, which is probably a struggle for someone who is such a gifted comedic actor.
He was also a big exposition dump the whole way through, and he actually commented on that, like, oh man, the dialogue is kind of complicated, and I'm having to explain to everybody what the plot of this movie is, but I'm not necessarily having fun, like you said, Jonas. And he has brilliant comedic timing. So to underutilize those things, I can see why it's like, okay, let's take it into a more comedic or interesting direction. And I think that really kind of peaked with Infinity War. I think his depiction there was kind of spot on perfect, and they really dropped the ball with Endgame and going forward.
Right, and just to speak to that, he not only had the exposition for Age of Ultron, he also had the exposition for movies yet to come that were not in Age of Ultron, which is something that is just ridiculous to ask an actor to do. The whole Narn Frost and witches and having a vision in a cave that he literally had to leave the plot and go to some other place just so that he could come back and say that, yes, you should definitely let Vision be a member of the team. And of course, Vision picks up Thor's hammer. They could have accomplished the same thing by dialogue or some kind of character moment for Thor, but instead they had him go to a weird cave. Obviously, Thor Ragnarok is probably, in hindsight, not as positive of a moment. It's more positive because we've seen what he became in Thor Love and Thunder, but there was this moment here where they lightened up Thor a little bit. He started to act a little bit more immature, a little bit more playful. It was a really good movie, but it was also them playing in this more coarse area for Thor. They took him away from that Elizabethan era talk that is kind of a Thor in the comic books trademark. So when they brought him in for Infinity War, man, he has some really stellar stuff going on. His scenes with Rocket in the and Rocket has such great growth in there about who's the captain and who's not the captain and whose ship is this. And there's this scene here where he says, well, he's never fought me. Actually, he did fight you. I don't even want to repeat the lines because I can't properly remember them, but there's this great scene where they're intersecting that bravado and that sense of humor in a place that shows just how weak Thor is in this moment. And it's so good. His arc is one of the better arcs of Infinity War. It's kind of triumphant, even though he ends up losing in the movie. It's really, really great stuff from Chris Hemsworth. And then you have Thor Love and Thunder, where he makes himself the butt of every single joke.
He kind of plays into that stereotype that he actually mentions in the Vanity Fair article. As okay, I was kind of typecast initially, definitely before and during Thor, and I kind of went back to those roots right there. And he was reflecting for sure on his performances, and it was like, wow, I'm back to this character, this kind of mockery of myself that I didn't quite like what I saw on screen. He definitely had reservations about that for sure. And it's really unfortunate because you talk about that scene in Infinity War where the Guardians of the Galaxy are interacting with Thor in this really, really funny way. And I remember the first treatment for Thor 4, or at least the idea for it, was going to be as Guardians of the Galaxy. And it was going to be kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy with Thor. It just sounded amazing. But unfortunately, that didn't come to pass.
Yeah, they just stuck something on the beginning of that, and it ended up being a joke here. They have him show up late. I don't know. I feel like Fat Guy Thor in Avengers Endgame, there were so many things about Endgame that are both good and bad at the same time. Yes, they had the bravery to have Chris Hemsworth in a fat suit the entire film, and there were good things about that. But it ended up being a gag in that film rather than playing straight. Finally, we did get a superhero that anyone can play, because they didn't have him transform into muscular Thor at the end of the film. They had him literally fighting that last scene in the fat suit. I don't know. It came off very strange. Endgame is obviously the biggest film of all time, or used to be until they re-release Avatar again. So I don't want to insult it too much, but popularity does not mean that you made all of the right decisions. That's a haunting quote, of course, if we ever become popular. I feel Chris Hemsworth pain, and I don't know that I would trust Marvel to fix this. I think it's great news for Marvel that they might do another Thor film, but wow, I am not looking forward to what they have next. It's up to them to fix what has been done here.
So you read that Vanity Fair article, and it's definitely like a post extraction to Chris Hemsworth, where like apparently he injured his back and he's about to have surgery. So definitely reflecting on all of his past roles and so forth, and what he'd like to be going forward with his kind of limited time in the acting space. He talks about there's about 6 films I want to do, but that takes about a decade to actually accomplish. And then what then? He's 40, he'd be 50 at that point. I guess he really had fun with Furiosa and his role in that, playing that villain. That sounds absolutely awesome, by the way. Apparently he had a conversation with George Miller, if I'm not mistaken, the director of Fury Road, like right after that movie came out. Remember, that movie came out like 10 years ago. So it's been a long time coming for sure. And he's really excited to have that debut on screen. I guess Miller told him to write a journal of as the character itself, to really get into it. He was like, I wasn't really fond of that process going into it, but it was really beneficial to him during that whole thing. So we have a new Chris Hemsworth here, and I think that's why he's looking at Taika Waititi and some of the other eccentric directors who have directed him in the past and going, maybe not for me.
Yeah, he has made comments specifically about how he does not want to work with eccentric directors again, which, especially since the most recent film that anyone is aware of at that point would have been Thor Love and Thunder. And Taika Waititi is the bookends of that film as Korg, a character that was once a beloved character and now is the delivery for Taika Waititi's sense of humor in the films. I don't know. But of course, we want to throw this to our commenters here. Did you like Thor Love and Thunder? Is Korg, in fact, your favorite character in the MCU? Are you looking forward to Thor 5 whenever they get around to it? I'm sure they'll come up with some subtitle that will make it very hard for you to track which one in the order that is. Of course, like this video if you like this video, and consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.